This is the story of slaves. In a globalized situation on how giant international organizations are selling prawns fed by slave labor.
Main stakeholders include the slaves, the brokers, the Thai government, and the International Labour Organization.
Relevant to our community as regular consumers of shrimp, we indirectly endorse slave and child labor in the Thai fishing industry, which garners over $7 billion a year.
These maps show the main ports and piers across Thailand, which aid the Thai shrimp industry located before the border of Malaysia and near Bangkok.
Despite repeated promises by businesses and the Thai government to clean up the country's $7 billion seafood export industry, an Associated Press investigation has found out that shrimp peeled by modern-day slaves is reaching the US, Europe, and Asia.
The treatment of the slaves is so inhuman, and the sheer number of slaves is unknown. According to Phil Robertson, the Deputy Director of Human Rights Watch Asia, regulation is so inadequate in Thailand that nobody knows how many boats there are, let alone the number of trafficked people on them.
The Thai government estimates 300,000 people work in the fishing industry, 90% of whom are migrants vulnerable to being duped, trafficked, and sold to the sea. So what have these people witnessed? And what does the future hold in store for them? The slaves, with no power and a singular goal of freedom, are left suffering at sea.
Hundreds of thousands of Rohingya men, women, and children have fled state-sanctioned violence in Burma since 2012, forced to take the seas in a desperate attempt to reach their relative safety on Malaysia. A vast industry has emerged to exploit this misery. Many of those migrants attempting crossing will end up being held to ransom by human traffickers.
They are just like gangsters. They would torture and murder the fishermen, then throw them into sea. We have to work all day, sometimes without sleeping. I couldn't ask why I had to pay, and if I asked why they beat me, they would kill me. It was 3:30 a.m. when I jumped. There were two possible outcomes: escape or be killed. But it made no difference. We were working to serve them, and I could not continue. The slaves are tortured, beaten, deprived of adequate food and shelter. Even during sleep, they were piled on top of each other. The Environmental Justice Foundation found that 59% of workers witnessed murder. When the slaves are unable to pay the traffickers to secure their freedom, they are sold to fishing boats and used as labor. The situation is further aggravated by brokers who arrange sales to buy and sell people, with boat owners paying up to 30,000 baht per person. The trade has only been possible with the collusion of Thai authorities, who have sold or directly handed thousands of people to human trafficking syndicates. As a result of the slaves' only two options, escape or be killed, their only hope is left in the hands of the Thai government and various organizations who are working to mitigate the issue. All the slaves want is freedom, but they are deprived of all power, and their voices are subdued in the midst of the sea.
At the expense of the slaves, it is the brokers who put the slaves through human trafficking, slavery, and murder. It is them who hold all the power and benefit from Thailand's hugely profitable fishing industry. Hidden camera footage depicts Sompon Jirat Montri, the owner of Brunlaub Fishing. All the men interviewed in this film have escaped from his boat. For years, he has profited from the use of trafficked slave labor.
Bagaimanaตั้งสวัสดิการนะครับแล้วก็มีแนะนำมีแบบฟอร์มมีอะไรก็ตั้งคุยกันมีเอกสารให้มาดูจะตั้งเป็นมีสัญญาจ้าง
A member of one of Kantang's most powerful families, Jadot Montre sits at the head of the Council for the Monitoring and Inspection of the Police Force, is president of the Kantang Fishing Association, and has served 2 terms as municipal mayor, a position currently held by his brother. With over 300,000 workers in the industry, only a fraction are registered. The rest are ghosts, and ghosts are good business for the brokers, police, and Thai officials that prey on them. One high-level broker agreed to talk on condition of anonymity.
ถ้าพูดถึงตำรวจกับโบรกเกอร์นี่เป็นคล้ายๆกับว่าถ้าให้ผมมองนะครับเป็นคู่ค้ากันมากกว่าในการที่จะมีเจ้าหน้าที่ติดต่อเป็นคนที่อยู่ชายแดนระหว่างพม่ากับของไทยใช่เรามีครับถ้ามองการที่จะทำเป็นระบบใหญ่คือระบบตรงนี้เนี่ยต้องเข้าใจกันว่าทุกคนได้เงิน
The boat captains paid the brokers around £450 for each worker. But once on board, the men are forced to work for nothing until they have paid off this debt.
แล้วก็เข้าไปเจรจากับทางเจ้าของเรือถ้าเขายินดีจะจ่ายผมก็เป็นคนกลางที่นำเขาเข้ามาก็ต้องทำงานใช้หนี้จะเป็นแบบนั้นไป
The government of Thailand, or formerly known as the Thai Royal Government, is a unitary government of the Kingdom of Thailand. It could be argued that the Thai government forced the Thai fishermen to get slaves to work on their boats instead of paid laborers, because in the past, it was very easy for Thai fishermen to get cheap labor from migrants. But now, the Thai government has put reforms on labor work from migrants, which made it much harder for the fishermen to get cheap labor, therefore made it more expensive to be a fisherman when it wasn't expensive in the past. So now it kind of made the fishermen think, why not get slaves to work on our boats? Which makes you think, did the Thai government push the fishermen into getting slaves? However, during the last 2 years, the Royal Thai government has determined and put a great effort into solving labor problems in the fishing industry. The government has implemented various legal reforms, policies, and strengthened law enforcement on labor protection, as well as engaged closely with the private sector, non-governmental organizations in neighboring countries, as well as Thai military's junta. The National Council for Peace and Order has overhauled fishing industry monitoring, control, and management regimes. New interagency inspection frameworks have been established across the country, and teams of officials are now supposed to check fishing boats each time they depart and arrive in port. Laws have been strengthened, and penalties for infringing on fishers' rights have substantially increased. As a result, there has been significant improvement in the labor situation in the fishing industry in many areas.
The International Labour Organization was created during the era of the League of Nations in 1919, following World War I. It now focuses on promoting social justice and the recognition and enforcement of international human and labor rights. Its mission specifically in Thailand is to save as many slaves as possible from illegal labor, as well as provide safe, financially stable jobs for them, and also to help children that may have been caught up in any labor. ILO has had many ventures in Thailand, but they are focused on slavery in Thailand's $7 billion seafood industry. It's had projects in places like Samut Sakhon, Samut Prakan, Surat Thani, Nakhon Si Thammarat, and Songkhla. They worked very closely in these districts, closing over 24 shrimp peeling factories, which were proved to show multiple human rights violations regarding the workers' safety, salary, sanitation, and their overall treatment. After having spoken with Birgit Crow Paulsen, the former director of the ILO's project in Thailand, this is what she had to say about the focus of their project.
The focus of the project was to generate knowledge and on providing support to children and families and communities to prevent child labour and to withdraw children from child labour and place them back in education.
And this is how she answered to what the long-term effects of this project were.
The project managed to open the door ajar, and it paved the way for other interventions.
An example of an intervention would be the ILO's Ship-to-Shore project, which aims to prevent and reduce forced labor as well as child labor in the Thai fishing industry. The short-term outcomes regarding this topic include loss of life concerning slaves, as well as a decrease in trust from transnational organizations such as the ILO in the Thai government due to their lack of activity concerning this problem. And finally, it also results in an increase in projects led by NGOs again, such as the ILO, to end slave labor in the Thai fishing industry.
If the problem is being worked on, the Thai government and transnational organizations work on saving slaves and child laborers by providing them with financially stable jobs and safe work.
In spite of several parties vowing to end their prowess, it is the brokers who still hold the greatest power within slave labor in the shrimp industry. Using their relationship with corrupt officials, the brokers are able to force the workers to endure all types of suffering and subsequently reap the rewards of the workers' efforts.
In fear of any consequences that will result from defying the broker's demands, the workers have no option but to continue working in these miserable circumstances. While progress has been made by organizations and governments, the slaves still have a long journey to undertake before reaching the shore.